Mr. Engel for 2 minutes.
Mr. President, Commissioner, dear colleagues, I'm glad that this directive proved to be rather consensual among the groups of this House, which proves that in Europe we don't actually really disagree on the necessity of limiting or ideally eliminating money laundering, and that means the laundering of the proceeds from activities far worse than the laundering of money itself. Even though we had a small hiccup in the sense that it took some time and it took some conviction to include the British trust instrument in this, but I'm glad we did, because at the end of the day any sort of corporate structures, and this can be likened to a corporate structure, can be abused for money laundering, and anything that can be abused for money laundering has to be included in these endeavours. But our problem therefore is not really in the European Union. Our problem is that a number of territories, some very friendly to us, at least nominally, continue to do exactly as they please in terms of acting like financial centres and indeed being laundrettes. I'm talking about British Crown dependencies, apparently independent of the will of Mr. Cameron whenever he speaks out very loudly for all sorts of transparency, and then seems to be rather unable to contain anything that his boys and girls do in the Channel Islands, in the British Virgin Islands, or in territories more exotic than these. I'm talking about the half dozen or so full offshore jurisdictions contained within the United States of America, where we don't have any sort of influence on what happens to money that ends up there and what sort of money gets out of there. And we will not be able, let the register be public or not, to find out who is behind structures there, because they will never yield any information about beneficial ownership, unlike what European jurisdictions, European Union jurisdictions have been doing for years. So let's now focus our efforts in convincing all those that are not convinced yet that our approach is right. And that means also talking very seriously to friends.